Hello, it's Book Quote Wednesday and the word is girl. Today I am reading from my space opera novel, The Xenocide Mission. Joel Gilmore is the sole surviving human and Boon Round the sole surviving first breed on Skyspy base, a base run by both species which is now under attack by aliens who once deliberately wiped out all life on the next planet in their solar system. Hence the humans call them Xenocides, or XCs for short. If the XCs get hold of Skyspy's computer banks, then they may not only learn the location of Earth, but also the secret of faster-than-light travel that will get them there in the first place. So Joel's last duty, even though it might cost him his life, is to destroy those computer banks. XCs were on Skyspy. Joel's neat little rationale about the impossibility of sneaking shock troops out here unobserved had collapsed, but that tiny and irritatingly vocal part of his mind, the part that insisted on being analytical regardless, wouldn't shut up as they raced to their destination. So the XCs were here. What did they want? Down one final level. Well, a clean-up operation was one option. The XCs had got their name when a horrified discovery mission led by the Rusty's former masters had witnessed their extermination of their nearest planetary neighbours. So there was plenty of reason to believe the XCs would strongly contest the sanctity of life of alien beings from beyond their own solar system. Once they detected Skyspy, somehow, then of course they would make sure they had achieved total extermination. Quickly down the corridor, past the canteen, through the gym. But they would want the knowledge of those aliens. They would send in the troops to do what machines couldn't, retrieve that knowledge intact. Turn right after the living quarters. In other words, the XCs were heading for exactly the same place as Boon Round and Joel. The only difference was their intent when they got there, and the fact that they didn't know which of Skyspy's many chambers or rooms it was in. Fourth on the left. Joel and Boon Round paused for a moment at the entrance to the computer centre, savouring the sight of the intact crystal storage banks and the absence of XCs. Then a group of 5 aliens appeared at the end of the corridor. Boon Round jetted at full thrust down the corridor, spinning furiously and legs flailing, and just had time to say, "Take the banks!" before it pounded into the XCs, sending them flying like skittles in microgravity. Joel took one last look as they closed in on the Rusty, then jetted into the computer centre and shut and locked the hatch behind him. The general band was still open, and Boon Round's translator unit had finally given up on interpreting what its owner was saying. All Joel could hear was a single monotone, "Ah!" He switched it off and searched feverishly for the charge control. Got it. A black and yellow striped plate the size of his hand set into one wall. He pressed it and it slid aside. Within were 3 switches, each under its own guard. Joel flipped each guard up in turn, then positioned a finger over each switch and pressed the 3 down together. He turned to look at the results of his handiwork. Nothing. The banks were intact as ever. Joel bellowed in fury and frustration. The central control had been broken or disconnected in the attack. A red glowing spot appeared on the locked hatch and Joel went back to work. "Caution, biometrics show imminent sign of hyperventilation," said his suit, but he ignored it as he studied the banks. The charges were small black boxes, the front ends of dark rods that extended into the crystal, and a single light shone on each one to show that it was running off its internal batteries. Each box had a duplicate of the controls on the central switch, a cover for the 3 switches, a guard for each switch under that. "Increasing CO2 content to compensate for overdependence on oxygen," said his suit. The red glow covered half the hatch and was turning to white. "Yeah, do that," Joel muttered as he got into the first bank. "Flip 1, flip 2, flip 3, all together now, flip!" The rod began to glow, and the crystals shimmered as the heat distorted them, then frosted like shattered glass as their molecular structures distorted beyond recognition and their memory content was wiped forever. "Yes!" Joel shouted and went on to the next one. Flip 1, and another bang, and another. The hatch was almost incandescent. The last 2, The hatch exploded into the room and XEs poured in. The last one! The XEs grabbed hold of Joel in their unbreakable four-handed grips, and he didn't even try to resist, letting the force of their charge carry them away from the bank and across the room. All the better because it gave Joel a proud view of his beautiful handiwork. A row of cracked, white, useless memory banks, the information gone forever. He glanced round at his captors. He could see through their visors, the maned heads and flat faces, the small dark eyes, wide apart and perfect for triangulation on prey, the mouths with their bared shark's teeth. 101 lost memories flashed across his mind. Earth, his parents, seeing the sun, holding a girl in his arms and kissing her, drinking a glass of good wine. These alien bastards were taking it all away from him. He grinned and held up a single finger at them. And swivel, he said. Then they came at him. Remember, you can buy my books at www.benjeeps.com. See you next time.